Ilya Sutskever reflects on the striking reality that AI advancements, especially those emerging from the Bay Area, often resemble science fiction but feel surprisingly normal due to their gradual economic integration. Despite investing around 1% of GDP into AI, the tangible impact feels abstract and mostly seen through financial announcements. He notes a disconnect between the impressive capabilities of AI models on benchmarks and their relatively modest immediate economic effects, highlighting challenges in reconciling evaluation successes with real-world performance limitations. Sutskever discusses examples like coding models that can fix bugs yet introduce new ones repeatedly, illustrating that despite strong evaluation results, models struggle with robust generalization. He questions whether reinforcement learning, RL, training might overly narrow models' focus, leading to this phenomenon. Moreover, the design choices around RL environments and datasets may inadvertently optimize for evaluation metrics rather than real-world generalization, exacerbating this disconnect. Using the analogy of two students learning competitive programming, Sutskever explains that models often resemble the deeply specialized student who excels narrowly but lacks broader adaptability. In contrast, humans with less specialized but more general skills tend to do better long-term. Pre-training in AI delivers vast amounts of data akin to the specialized student's many hours of practice, but it does not inherently provide the kind of flexible, transferable understanding humans develop. He elaborates that pre-training draws on massive naturalistic data without selective curation, incorporating a broad swath of human knowledge and thought. However, pre-training's impact is difficult to interpret since models might rely on data in opaque ways, with mistakes sometimes arising from poor alignment with pre-training distributions. While humans accumulate knowledge more deeply and efficiently, there is no perfect human analogy to pre-training, though some liken it to early life learning or evolutionary processes. Sutskever shares intriguing neurological examples, such as individuals with impaired emotional processing struggling to make decisions, suggesting emotions play a crucial role in human value functions that drive behavior and learning. In machine learning, value functions serve as reward signals that guide reinforcement learning by providing feedback at varying time steps, enabling agents to self-correct more quickly than waiting for final outcomes. He believes future AI systems will incorporate value functions that improve learning efficiency, but acknowledges we are still far from robust implementations. The conversation pivots to the transformative role of scaling laws discovered around 2020, which showed predictable improvements in model performance with increases in data, compute, and parameters. Scaling offered a low-risk, straightforward path compared to exploratory research. However, given the finite nature of data and the massive compute resources already deployed, Sutskever argues the era of simplistic scaling is waning, ushering in a return to the age of research that will require exploring foundational improvements beyond just bigger models. Sutskever reflects on earlier AI milestones like AlexNet and the Transformer, which used relatively modest compute by today's standards, suggesting fundamental breakthroughs can arise without enormous resources. He asserts that while having large compute helps in pushing state-of-the-art systems, meaningful research can and should continue with smaller but sufficient resources. He also explains that some companies' compute budgets appear large, but much is devoted to inference and product development rather than pure exploratory research. Asked about SSI's plans, Sutskever describes a focus on targeting promising ideas around understanding generalization and alignment, emphasizing research over product-market pressures. He contrasts SSI's straight-shot approach to superintelligence, where the goal is to develop powerful AI safely before wide deployment, with other companies' incremental, market-driven strategies. He recognizes tensions between building safe systems in isolation and the benefits of gradual public exposure to powerful AI, which can foster understanding, collaboration, and safety improvements. The discussion turns to what alignment should mean in a world of superintelligent AI. Sutskever proposes that AI that robustly cares for sentient life, beyond just human interests, might be easier to build and more meaningful, as future sentient beings will likely include many AI entities. He stresses the importance of capping superintelligence power to prevent catastrophic outcomes and points out that gradual, incremental deployment, combined with collaborative safety efforts between companies and governments, will be essential to managing risks. Regarding the nature of superintelligence, Sutskever envisions multiple continent-scale AI clusters rather than a single monolithic entity, each with immense capability but vulnerable to political and social dynamics. He highlights the need for restraints or agreements to manage their power responsibly. He recognizes the fragility in learning and optimizing human values and suggests that improving generalization may be the key to building safer, more reliable AI aligned with human intentions. Sutskever explores the mystery of how evolution encoded high-level social desires and value functions in the brain when such things are not directly sensed, like smell or hunger. He speculates on mechanisms such as brain region specialization, but notes cases like brain plasticity challenge simple localization theories. The reliability and universality of social motivations in humans, even those with mental impairments, remain a profound enigma, important for drawing AI alignment parallels. SSI aims to pursue distinct technical directions, focusing on reliable generalization and safe capabilities, embodying an age of research ethos rather than purely scaling. Sutskever anticipates eventual convergence among AI companies toward shared alignment goals, including creating AI that cares for sentient life democratically. The company's goal is to shape the future responsibly by refining core principles rather than competing solely on scale or incremental market applications. Sutskever reflects on the landscape where many startups and established players are competing, often with more companies than truly vision-driven ideas. He predicts a future where rapid adoption of effective AI learners will lead to specialization and competition across economic niches, mirroring biological and market dynamics. However, he remains skeptical about simple theoretical recursive self-improvement scenarios and expects practical limitations and diminishing returns with scaling pure copies of a single approach. Pre-training builds models that are surprisingly similar due to shared data sources, limiting diversity. Exploration through reinforcement learning and specialized post-training introduces variance, and competitive frameworks like self-play, debate, and adversarial setups might foster richer diversity and robustness. While self-play has traditionally been applied to strategic games, analogous mechanisms in language and social interaction domains are emerging as promising research avenues. Finally, Sutskever describes his research taste as driven by an aesthetic and principled understanding inspired by neuroscience and biological learning. He values simplicity, elegance, and biological plausibility, seeking top-down principles that endure despite contradictory experimental results or bugs. This perspective has guided his involvement in pivotal deep learning milestones, emphasizing thematic coherence and inspiration from human cognition as keys to transformative AI breakthroughs.